Welcome to today's edition of The Living Legends. My name is Daniel Wahome. And in today's episode, we speak to a man who worked at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation for 27 years. If you think of the programs Joy Bringers, Sing and Shine, you can also think of Omo Pika Box, a game show that was quite popular then. You can also think about sports at KBC, all the broadcasts of the World Cup, World Athletics Championships, and the Olympics. He was all around them and was involved directly. If you are to think of KBC then as your true sports partner. On The Living Legends, we speak to a former controller of sport in this corporation, Bwana Karanja Kimwere.
Hello.
First of all, welcome back to this house, this studio. This was your real place of work for 27 years.
Yeah, this was home. This studio was my place of work for 27 years. I would come here every day. And that's why I love KBC.
Yeah. Well, let's start with this biographical story, your early life and education.
Well, I come from Embu. Well, my father took us to Embu when he was released from the detention, Mau detention. He was a veteran in the Mau movement. He was a gun maker. And he was jailed in a small prison called Karaba. When he was released, he came for us from Limuru town, where our home was. And so I come from Karaba. I went to Karaba Primary School. No, I went to Manguo Primary School in Limuru, then I went to Karaba Primary School, Karaba Secondary School, and after my Form 4, I went to Kirimara High School for my A-levels. And basically, that's my basic education. From there, I went to KMC.
That's Kenya Institute of Mass Communication.
Communication to do television. And then, I don't know how early you wanted to up to that point.
I mean, we can talk about, studying television production and the curriculum then. Just give us a background into it.
Well, at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communications, you were very lucky to meet some of the best producers maybe that ever lived. We had Greg Adambo, who ended up being a television programs manager here at KBC. And we had one great teacher, the late Seth Adagala. These are the people who molded us and who introduced television to us. And they taught us every aspect of television production. And whatever I did here was basically on what they taught me. Of course, I later on moved on. I went abroad and honed even more and got more experience. And I was taught many other things, but basically KMC.
You see, at that point, knowing the stories from KBC is that joining KIMC meant that you had an employment number here at KBC. But what are the other opportunities outside of the Ministry of Information and what was then the Voice of Kenya, if you could be an independent producer or get hired by a filmmaking house?
It is true, when you joined KMC, actually you were being paid. Even when we were students, you were being paid. And when you came here, definitely the salary was guaranteed. I think that was the better part. Then, when you come to KBC, those days, there's nowhere else you could go to. There were no other broadcasting houses, there were no production houses, nothing. You are stuck here. If you get sacked, unless you go and look for a job elsewhere to be a clerk, you could go nowhere. But things, of course, improved as time came in and new players in the industry came in. Otherwise, those early days, you are stuck, KBC. And you find that was not very good because you had no one to cry to. When things go bad, you're in the ministry, you're considered as another clerk, you're not considered as a professional. And that was a sad bit.
And thinking of the productions that, from that time, some long-standing, Vioja Mahakamani, Vitimbi, there would be at times, children's theater, Sanaya Kiswahili, I think some of those. what was the daily process then for a station that, had an opening time and a closing time?
You see, the way KBC was structured then, we had a production studio and producers and directors. These producers and directors were employed to produce those programs, to make sure that the station is running. You supplement the few films which are bought from abroad, so you have to create those programs. And those producers were good, very good, and they were hardworking in spite of the problems they faced. Vioja Mahakamani was started by a group of producers. They had Ken Washera and Samuel Karoki, Jose Gatito. Those are the people who actually started that program, and they directed it, and they brought all those characters you see in that program. We had children's theater producers. We had people like Eddie Luceno, very good producers who write scripts and bring hits here, and we would go to schools and get those people here. And that's how we kept KBC running. And we had the musical programs. We had the Samuel Yando with his Jiburudishen program, and we brought all manner of musicians here. We brought Tabule here, we brought Shalamona here, we brought Bilia Bell, those people, and our local artists. So those producers worked very hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me come to some of the productions that you touched. One is a musical one, gospel, Sing and Shine. How was it conceived and brought to life? And everyone would look out for that moment to at least now visualize the gospel artists they knew.
Yes, when I came to KBC, we didn't have gospel singers in this country. We had choirs, and one or two, like Kenneth Owal, who sang Just Go There and Ring Number 9. Those individuals. And then I sat down and wondered, these choirs, all these choirs, they just sing on Sunday, you go home. Some of them are very good. We have got individual talents in those groups who are very good. Why don't I bring them out and feature them on their own and then see what happens? I spoke to my boss. I spoke to my immediate boss, Mr. Benson Zubain, and I spoke to my production manager, Mr. Simeon Anabwani, and they told me, go ahead, do what you want to do. So I went, picked several singers, individual singers from different choirs. And then I approached a group in Nairobi called the Youth for Christ. I asked them to come and back these people, back these youngsters with their instruments, and they agreed, because you are a good singer, but since you don't have any professional backing, nobody knows you. But when you introduce professional instrumentation, the person comes out. That's how you came up with people like Kimwere Tieno. That's how you came up with people like Jafel Kasang. And they started coming out like that. And we had a permanent backup team here in the studio. If somebody comes from Homa Bay to Nairobi and can sing, we just put you in front of those people and they sing. And people, I'm happy that you appreciated it so much that Sing and Shine went up. Then Joy Bringers. Yes. Then you'd ask, what's the difference? During my time, I wanted to create different points of reference in terms of spiritual matters. During my time, we had only the Catholic bishops, Mwananzeki, we had the Reverend John Gatu, the Archbishop of Anglican Church, yet we had very many men and women of God who could use as point of reference for spiritual matters. So I decided we incorporate pastors in Joy Bringers and then introduce also music, which will also help in promoting our local talents. And I had a silent policy. If you're not Kenyan, you don't feature.
That was a rule.
If you're not Kenyan, you don't feature. The first person to be featured, a foreigner, was Faustin Munishi. Because if you don't put Kenyans, Then you start bringing Tanzanians here, then that program becomes a Tanzanian program, and you now promote your own people. And that's why you see gospel music went up, because we kept on telling you, listen to Mediatino, listen to Esther Wahome, listen to those people, and people now appreciate them. And gospel music industry, you know where it is.
Now, looking at how that started, because previously it was just the audio studio that was known, and today every gospel artist has a video as a standard.
Yeah.
How did it evolve over the years?
Once we started shooting Sing and Shine, we shoot it outside. You see some of when you get my photographs, you see some of the old pictures we shot outside using an ENG, the older version of what you are using today. And when people started seeing that, definitely very creative people outside there thought this is a good way, this is good business. And therefore they would go shoot videos and market them and make money. And that's exactly what we wanted here at KBC. You open up the ground, make these people understand you can make money. If you're not employed in an office, you can go sing music and be great. They came to visit me the other day, and I was shocked. 150 of them came to visit me, and all of them were driving the huge cars. Yet the youngsters, they used to record in this studio. And I was very happy, because that's exactly what we wanted to do.
Well, it is always said that the most urgent thing to say is thank you. And I think I saw the pictures of that when they visited your home.
Yeah.
It was quite a joy for you.
It was very emotional. For me, I'm not used to being told thank you, but now seeing what I wanted, that's exactly what I wanted. We have Kenyans singing and coming up. Sadly, the secular music did not go that way. They kept on copying each other. I don't know whether you realize that in gospel music, I also came up with another rule. Maybe somebody thought I was a dictator. We said, you cannot sing in Joy Bringers or Sing and Shine if you're a gospel singer without a tie. We must create a difference. What did I do? This tie does not have, this was just to make you know we are serious. We are very serious. So
you actually instituted a dress code for the Kasanga. I remember the Kasangas. It had to be like that. Sherry Martin had to be in a suit.
In a suit, or if you don't have a suit, you have a tie. If you don't have a tie, you come to this studio, we had a tie over here. Because we wanted to raise the standard.
Okay. Yeah. Now, let's move to another one, Omo Pika Box, the game show.
Yes. Yes. Omo Pika Box was initially was recorded in this studio. The first director was Sammy Yando with the Level 1 Productions, Moses Nderito, the company they recorded here briefly. Then I think the demands of the clients were a bit higher. So Level 1 decided to go to studios at Jamhuri Park. There were some studios there, and they wanted a director. And somehow I got it. And I did Omo Pika Box, but not many people knew that the one directing it, because I didn't want to use my name, Karanja Kimwere, and then the following day my boss is asking me what I'm doing out there with. But I did record, I did direct those programs, but they were produced by Level 1, that is Moses Nderito. Produced, he was and the Omo people were the clients. It was an enjoyable show, as you rightly say, and it was a big show, and a 7-camera production. We used 7 cameras, and it was very challenging, and I liked it. I loved it.
Okay. Time to make a confession. What was the name at the end credits?
I was called Joe Minor. Joe is, my name is Joseph Karanja Kimwere.
Yes.
At home, my father, because in our custom, we don't call your father his actual name, my father was called Minor. So, Joseph Minor. Yeah.
Well, so there you've had it. At least now, if you've ever looked at some of those old tapes, then you've got that. It's, at this point, let's now talk about sport. because you were involved in sport. And first of all, the World Cup. The World Cup iko KBC. And let's think of KBC broadcasting the World Cup. What has been the story? 82, 86, think of 1990 and USA 1994.
Yes, after my stint after doing those job bringers for quite a while, I think my bosses decided they wanted me to go to a much more serious area, and that was in sports. Acquisition of rights for these sports is very competitive and very difficult, and it is cutthroat. When I joined sports, the same year I joined the sports, the World Cup was given to TV Africa for Kenya. I mean, TV Africa was supposed to transmit World Cup here.
That was the 2000 and...
No, that was the one which was 2000, I think. Yeah, 2000.
2002.
Or the one 1998.
France 98, I think, was CFI. Because I would like to just look back.
No, CFI did not bring the World Cup. I remember TV Africa actually were given. Let me start from TV Africa. So we didn't have the rights. And my boss started telling me, Karanja, you have to look for the World Cup. How can it not be in KBC and we are the national broadcaster? And therefore, I went and saw that small talk of being the national broadcaster out there. I was told, what do you mean? You don't own the rights? If you want these rights, come pole. And I knew we were done. So I decided I will not go officially. I went to TV Africa themselves, the owners. The ones who had rights, and I met the managing director. And I introduced myself. I'm from Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and you people have the rights. They told me, yes, we have the rights now. If you people want to buy, you are not supposed to transmit. I said, yes, I know. But I proposed to him, you are like a man with a big apple, and you want to take it home across the river. And here I am, with a big boat, with no cargo. Why don't you bring your apple, put it on our boat, you take it across the river? They bought that. We are a big station with wide audience. Why don't you bring a World Cup to KBC? We partner and then market it together. And they bought. I came to my boss, a good gentleman called Joe Hamisi. Told me that's good. You have talked with them and they have agreed. Yes. Let us move. He called his deputy, Mr. Caxton Munyoki, and now officially told him to go and enter into that agreement. So we entered, we agreed. We marketed it together and shared the revenue 60-40. 60 theirs, 40 hours, because they owned the rights.
Yes.
And you see, that's how we were able to transmit the World Cup. Come to...
That was 2000. That was the 2002 World Cup, Japan, South Korea. But let's just go back to 1998.
Yeah.
And we had African voices on commentary. Bernard Otieno was there when the World Cup was in France. How was that achieved for KBC?
No, it was. Yeah, I'm trying to remember how we introduced Bernard Otieno. They must have been here. The one I remember very well. Let me go back to Germany. That was France.
Yes.
No.
France,
there was a World Cup in Germany.
2006.
2006. That's where we sent even commentators there. We sent Jaco Sylvester and Alisa Limanga. The position was this. We were always hearing international commentators commentating football and telling us, and we don't hear our own people doing it. That's why we introduced those commentators to broadcast it on radio. Remember, we had the rights.
Yes.
We had the rights. And but for radio, some people would say, but since you're not broadcasting it on radio, why don't we use the screen and broadcast it? So to stop that, we sent Jaco Sylvester, so our radio listeners would listen to what is going on there, And we had a good show. I know what you're talking about, Mohamed Juma Jogona.
Yeah, Mohamed Juma Jogona, 2002 is the one who'd hop from Japan to South Korea.
Yes, he would do that. And that had a lot of rights controversies, because when you get the rights for radio, you can't jump onto TV. Yeah, you can't. But you see, there was a lacuna in this country that you could do this and go away with it. That's how Mohamed Juma Jogona was able to broadcast for you from Japan to Korea, back from Korea back to Japan. But I must say, rights issues are very complicated issues. I brought in the owners of the rights in 2006. That was the LIM International, LIM, and I was able to bring the owner of LIM International here. And we went to the office and discussed the rights, and KBC got the rights for Kenya. But then the rights fee was very high, 20 million, and over 20 million shillings. And then Mr. Washira Warudu then was the managing director. I sat down with him and we agreed, why don't you look for partners so that we can pay that debt? And we got KTN on board. If you remember, KTN came on board.
Yes.
And they were able to pay 12 million, he paid 12 million, and we were able to market together. And in that partnership, I remember Washira Waruru from KBC side approached Celtel, and one phone call brought in 40 million in sponsorship. So you see, we made quite an amount of money.
That's 16 million clean. from the key sponsor.
Yes, and then we were able to get other sponsors because there were several products which were created. We created a World Cup broadcast, and we created several small products. Like John Onyongesa would come up with the like a Samsung moment, and then you have you have the goals table. People would come and sponsor all that, and at the end of the day, KBC was able to make 100 million shillings with KTN. But KTN did not transmit all the matches because they said they have a brand and there are some matches they are not going to transmit. As we transmitted them, they will not transmit. So our marketing department came and told them, okay, we will count the number of matches you transmitted and pay you for those. So that's how it went. I think that is business.
That's business. Yep. And also at the same time, because that is when things started changing. Yes. I remember in the 90s, KBC used to broadcast. I mean, we knew that at 2:30 p.m. till 7:30 or so, that was time to watch the English Premier League. Yeah. There was football made in Germany. Yeah. And also the UEFA Champions League came in. But towards that time, something happened. There was a shift towards pay television. What was that shift? Because people because I think you were bombarded with calls. Where has the Champions League gone?
Yes, one thing about the English Premier League is a very complicated issue. When I was there, you couldn't get the English Premier League because the DSTV had logged it in for both free-to-air and pay. And even if you wanted to go there to pay TV, free-to-air, it was impossible. But what used to happen, they would say to us as KBC, they keep on sending to me, to this weekend we have Chelsea versus Manchester United. If you're interested in that, that is my new TV, would send me that. If you're interested, we sell it to you. How much? £500. £500 you multiply and then take it to marketing. Can you sell this game? They tell you they can't. Or sometimes they tell you they can. So we used to get those small matches. But then, remember, then we have players. Other players are there. Our competitors are coming in and they are all nibbling on those rights. They want to have a share of it. And therefore, the owners, Kajua hapa, kuna pesa, we can make more money. And they started choosing for you what to show and what not to show. We had the CFI International, which gave us, that one was an exclusive right to KBC. I negotiated with, my boss and I, the late Joe Morema, negotiated with the CFI International, and we were able to get all CFI, all UEFA matches every Wednesday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Where we used to get those matches free. You'd call it free. But these matches, they normally go get a big sponsor, like Coca-Cola. They put one of their products there, and they give it to you. Of course, you must carry that commercial. Then when you bring it here, some of our sponsors here would say they don't want to transmit branded programs. That is a branded program, and they would refuse to sell. But anyway, they were good. People were able to watch very many UEFA matches. Then later on, when I left KBC, these rights, you have to keep following them, because you're not the only person there. So I don't think there was anybody from KBC who was able to follow them religiously the way I did, and therefore they ran away. And here we are.
And let's also talk about other events. You've, even as a outside of being a director and that, covering events, think of the athletics championships, and telling the story from out there, the Olympic Games. What was the scene then, and how has it changed now?
The Olympic Games, you have to get the rights to transmit the Olympic Games, and we did not want to have commentators who were telling us stories about Kipchoge. Well, he's Kenyan, and we are Kenyans, so we agreed we send our own commentators. That's where you have people like Obolea Siko, Kimeu, Shiveka, those kind of people, Beru Wavinya. They went to do that and give us the first-hand information about our own people. I think every country does that. Kenya, KBC was not doing that, but we woke up and decided doing that. We did the Africa Cup of Nations, no, not Africa Cup of Nations, we did the All Africa Games, if you remember, at Kasarani?
Yes, 1987.
1987, that's where we did our All Africa Games. Somebody had said we should hire an outsider to come and do it for us, but we did not, we refused, and we did it. I remember the directors of the day. I was among the directors of the Africa Cup of Nations, especially the opening ceremony.
Yeah, All Africa Games.
All Africa Games, sorry. All Africa Games. Sami Yando and Benson Dubey opened up, and then I was left to do the rest. And it was successful, and we were happy.
By the way, what were the biggest learning lessons for the team at KBC covering the African Games? Because I know there was that's when some of the OB equipment came in. There was always action, maybe some from Charter Hall where there was boxing. I think the City Park Stadium had just been built, and athletics, and football at Nyayo.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning. There was a lot of learning, and not only for KBC, but I think for the country. When you apply to have the World Cup here or the All Africa Games, you must invest in infrastructure, cameras, and the camera crew. Camera crew, all those things which go with that. You have to invest a lot, and we can make. But then you see, these cameras are not cheap; they're very expensive. Yes. If the government would want to cover those things, and you have to buy about 400 cameras, which costs about maybe 6 million each. They'll say no. But if you want to succeed, you watch the Commonwealth Games in Britain.
Yes.
You saw how many cameras they had along the road, everywhere, in all those stadiums. Not rushing with the camera, with the 2 cameras to the gymnasium, ukimaliza hapo na kimbizwa tenda huku kwa weightlifting, na the same cameras, the same cameramen. They had cameras in every single stadium. And that's what we are supposed to do. This is a sporting country. This is a sporting nation. We need to invest in those broadcast equipment. And even if the government does that, instead of us hearing they want to hire outsiders, if our competitors, for instance, get the rights, the government should come and give them those equipments and tell them, now, you have the infrastructure, maybe you pay us this much, some little amount, but do it using our own equipment. But not hire somebody from outside to come and do it for us. Then they bring in their cameras here, their own cameramen, and they are talking about joblessness. Yeah, we need our own people.
The environment is there, and if you were to talk about some of the memorable moments over the years for you at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, which ones would you pick from the 80s, the 90s, and then from the 00s?
I had a lot of many memorable days. Yeah, I do remember when the Pope came here. You know, the Pope John Paul came to Kenya 3 times.
Yeah.
And the 3 times I directed those visits at Uhuru Park. Those were memorable things. Those are things which don't just happen. You know, it comes so fast. The first one I did it with my other boss, Mr. Wallace Mugwe, and you know, those are great producers of those days. And then the second one I did it alone with my other boss, Irene Mwakesi. We did it at Uhuru Park and Mr. Musau. I mean, those producers, we did those programs. I remember I was happy to be involved. When I was at KBC, I was able to travel with choirs. You know, I would go with Muungano Choir, and we traveled to Europe, and it was a good moment. You know, you go see a country you have never been to. You went to Belgium, you went to France, you went to Italy, you went to all those. I mean, that's good. You enjoy. Yeah.
World Cup iko KBC.
Yes.
And just give us of which team we might expect Bwana Karanja to be supporting.
I don't know whether I'm the right person to tell you which team, but what I would want KBC to do is make as much money as possible. Create products which will bring in money. Create products, showing the match between Brazil and Germany is one thing. Creating products to make revenue, to me, is the most important thing. You know, I'm a producer.
Yes.
And I watch football, and I know you love football. Down to I am a Man U man, and you're a Chelsea man. Me, I would look at it from a management point of view. What can we make out of the World Cup? This is a chance you have been given. Make as much money as possible so that you can also sort out of the problems which you will be having here. Create products. Create a broadcast hour. You know, you're given 90 minutes of branded signal. You know, World Cup is branded signal.
Yes.
You know that?
Yes, it comes 2 hours and something of it.
Yes, so those, you cannot interfere with it. But before the match starts, you should create some 30 minutes of broadcast and sell that portion and the last bit of it. And then encourage these free producers out there to come up with products which would be sponsored. I told you, John Nyongesa, I'm not saying, I mean, he's happened to be, I worked with him.
Yeah, I know he used to have a kiosk that kept getting bigger.
Here, all the time. You know, you have Samsung moments, those goals, those are fantastic goals. You have those, some nasty, falls which were created. You can have that bit and beautiful moves which were made, sell those small products. It make you money.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for gracing us on the Living Legends.
Thank you very much.
I will tell you that when a story about me and Mr. Karanja, that he auditioned me for commentary in this very studio. And he had the faith, and he's mentioned people we've worked with. Omole Asiko, who's now based in Kisumu, Mary Wavinya, who's here with us, Elina Shiveka, who's now heading the sports division, and many other people who've worked here in KBC and outside. Thank you very much, Bwana Karanja Kimwere.
Thank you. One last thing.
Yes.
anybody who is in position like you, I would urge you to mentor others. I mentored you, you became what you became, get somebody else and mentor him. So that when you are gone like me, you come back and you say, he mentored me.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Tusaidiane.
Yeah.
Hold each other as we go up the ladder. That is the message. Thank you very much, Mr. Karanja Kimwere, for gracing the Living Legends. A producer, think of programs like Sing and Shine, Omo Pick a Box, Joy Bringers, and also lots of World Cups that KBC has broadcast. He has ensured that they were delivered to your homes through KBC Channel 1. And remember, World Cup, Iko KBC. My name is Daniel Wahome. Thank you for being with us.